Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to one of the most hyped up matches in recent StarCraft 2 history. This is the upper bracket finals of the StayAtHome Story Cup number 4. I've heard nothing but amazing things about this series. And it went between these two players. Spawning in the bottom right of Curious Minds, it's our blue Terran player playing for Team Liquid. This is Clem. And spawning in the top left, it's our red Zerg player for Ents Esports. This is Serral. You know, you could get me singing here, tale as old as time. And I can do no more than that because that would just be the MCA violation. But what a wonderful series we have on our hands here. Like I said, this is the upper bracket final from the StayAtHome Story Cup number 4. Felt like it went off without a hitch, and pretty exciting announcement coming off of it that it is the final StayAtHome Story Cup. The next Home Story Cup will be live in person, fully set up and ready for people to be entertained. It'll be really exciting to see these two players hopefully come and participate. I mean, being that they are both European natives, I would be surprised if these two did not get a chance to interact with each other. But, whew, what a doozy of a setup here. We're not going to do any spoilers. I know that a lot of people already know the outcome of the StayAtHome Story Cup. Hopefully you got a chance to check out some of the awesome games, of course. Take TV, Loco, Rotterdam, Wardy, and a handful of amazing pro players, all bringing you great commentary. But of course, a lot of our players bringing in some pretty awesome games. There were a lot of very exciting series throughout, and this was one that was heavily recommended. So I, Rushi, your man, the myth, the legend, to bring you a little bit of exciting insight into this series. I'm honored to be here. I had to find a way to tie the rest of that sentence up. Now, as we do kind of build into this game here, we watch this Reaper get a little bit of harassment damage done, but no major kills just yet, not even on Zerglings here. And that is going to be the way it sticks as the Queen pops out. This is a best of 5. So this upper bracket finals, this is not the deciding match. This is not the grand finals of this. So one more upper bracket series that has to be played for whomever wins this game. We're gonna have to see how things unfold here in the early onsets of the game here. Just a pretty stock standard opening here by both players. Serral getting out to his third base location. You know, a tiny bit late. The Reaper harassment by Clem is very on point. And that seems to be the overarching theme for Clem as of late. Just very on the nose with all of the different things that he needs to try and accomplish. Terran has been getting a bit of a rap lately. Not able to extend forward into tournaments, not able to get into those playoff situations and be successful. And Clem's like, I can do it. I can show people that Terran deserve to be respected in the upper bracket finals and even potentially grand finals and major events. You have it, you name it. So we're gonna have to see what he brings forward here against one of his arch nemesis, Serral. Now he is going to be able to wiggle his way up in here, trying not to take too much damage here, but is going to get caught a little bit. Serral's run out of lings though. Oh, Clem's so very patient here. I think he could have possibly found a way to get some executed damage there, but is just going to be patient and say, you know what, I can get those in at another point, especially when there's possibly a Banshee moving across the map. So Banshee Cloak about to finish up here. It's about 3/4 of the way done, and we do have a stim pack timing. So this ZVT unfolding in a way that ZVTs often should. A little bit of harassment here onto the creep spread, and that's going to be probably one of the bigger things to take care of here on Curious Minds. Curious Minds, one of the newer maps in the pool here, will have some crucial needs for creep spread. So it's a pretty biggish map. A lot of mid ground here to try and cover. And I think that Serral is going to need to capitalize on that creep spread to try and make an indent here. Now, it is a sizable amount of Hellions at this point in the game. It's 8 in total. And with the queen coverage, Serral's able to zone pretty well, but Clem's able to provide a lot of major issues here. Now these Banelings are going to be able to get on top and really soften up these Hellions. The Hellions are going to have to back off. So many of them are already down into the danger zone on overall hit points. So all in all, it is going to be 3 workers that gets picked off by these Banshees. Queens are going to have to rotate around to really keep that in line. But finally now, the harassment here by Clem not going to be enough to hold down that 4th base any longer. So 4 workers ends up being the damage toll for right now. Serral's going to have to adapt here as Clem gets out to his 3rd base location. But like I said, that creep spread is going to be ever important here on Curious Minds as he is trying to push that out as far as possible. Interesting note here that he's not really pushing it too hard here to the right where his 4th base is going. But I mean, this is such a crazy distance between the 3rd base at this location and the 4th base down here. So it makes perfect sense that this is a natural 4th base location for Serral. He has to really, really work to get that creep spread up and out if he wants to go in that direction at some different point. Ooh, Queen's actually pushed a little bit too far forward here. He is going to try and transfuse onto the Overseer. We're really working to shake that out, knowing that the Banshees could be lurking behind at any moment. So really needing that extra vision here, but also just trying to minimize the number of losses he could possibly take. We got an Overlord here. Just run away! That Overlord's going to be able to stick around. But here comes a great surround. Link's coming in from the top hand side. Banelings are going to be able to connect with a small amount of the Marine force here. That is going to push Clem up to the top here. He's going to pick up. But I think, yeah, Link should be able to rotate around. The creep spread into the main base, actually pretty strong right now. So Clem's not going to be able to capitalize on this too much just yet. The Banshees are going to get brought back into the fight alongside this Bioforce, which does continue to get harassed here by Serral. Serral really wants that 5th base at the about the 1130 position and is going to do what he can to fight for it. Banshee's not going to be a part of the harassment just yet, but more than likely they are going to find some opportunity to strike here in the near to immediate future. So I think a big component of this is just that endless harassment that Clem is so very well known for, and these Cloak Banshees really going to bring some of that heat as well. I mean, look at the kill counts here, 4 and 6, 10 total, and a majority of them are queens and workers. They're going to pick up a few of these Zerglings, but really not an entire amount that's going to amount to a lot here. Oh, great Baneling connection on to the army on the southern side. Creep spread is a little slowed down right now. That is going to cause Serral to have a difficult time defending this 5th base location. I mean, that creep spread has been stopped, I think, at least once. Can these queens get up and deal with this Banshee? Banshee's going to get pulled back just in time. And it's going to be, again, just constant harassment here. A couple of transfuses to try and keep those Overseers alive. Serral desperate to keep that vision against a possible siege of those Banshees. Meanwhile, Serral back behind all of this defense here, able to work into his Hydra Den. He has Groove Spines on the way. 2-2 in the works as well. Clem's 2-2 also in the progress meter on top of it. So ultimately, Serral able to get up to a 5th base location before Clem's able to drop his 4th base down. Really kind of an interesting position for Clem to try and play from. The supplies are dead even, but the incomes tell a slightly different story. Serral able to capitalize on a little bit better gains here in the mineral department. I mean, we can see here on the overlay that his mineral income is just a little bit stronger than Clem's. And honestly, in this matchup, it's not bad to have that mineral advantage, especially when you need lings to soak for those banelings. A couple of tanks do end up getting picked down on the edge of creep, but a scary amount. One tank still lays in behind. That's a lot of banelings that can be damaged here, especially since Serral needs to focus in multiple locations. Here come the reinforcing Zerglings, though, and those are going to be able to connect onto the units there. Tank's going to get cleaned up on the high side, but will this reinforcement down in the bottom be able to connect? I think so. It does cause a little bit of chaos, but it is ultimately going to get picked up and wander away. So at this point, I mean, Clem is still struggling to really find any major capital damage here. He's got 3 barracks on the way, so he wants to increase his production moving forward. But it's Serral just moving into the later stages of this game, able to capitalize on some pretty good defending. If we look at the units lost tab, the units lost is within the margin of error for Zerg. I mean, it's 52 to 72 on the mineral count, but to keep in mind that Zerg is almost always going to trade a little bit more inefficiently compared to the Terran players. So seeing that mineral disparity between the two, totally fine if you're Serral, especially if you're able to lose that mineral count in Zerglings compared to something like Queens or Drones. Oh, what a great surround here on the right-hand side. Banelings need to find their connections. Tanks are still going to get a decent amount of work done. I'm hesitant to try and use Observer Plus. I don't actually know if we have it. And if I press the B button, it's going to go backwards. We're going to have to look here in a moment. But I know units lost tab still kind of within that margin of error, although a little bit better exchanges here for Clem. Clem's having some really, really good pickup micro to try and keep as many of these units preserved as possible. But what's going to start dealing with that is Viper production. Viper's going to be able to start making these medevacs pay for their existence by utilizing those parasitic bombs. Even poles can be very, very effective to try and limit the amount of medevacs here, because we're already up to 9 medevacs into this overall count. A very, very strong position for the Zerg player to try and play from. Now, Clem is effectively maxed out here. He's working on his 3-3, trying to get even more positioning here to shut down the creep spread at this point. Utilizing that Zelnaga tower to enhance this tank. Well, that was parked down here, but it is going to rotate down. Here comes that 5th base. It is going to inevitably be parked out, more than likely here as a planetary fortress. Oh, climb a little bit out of position here. He's actually already working on that 5th base into the top right-hand corner. And there's a burrowed Zergling here. So Serral not only going to be able to scout when that comes out, but he will delay that by just a little stretch to keep himself economically competitive here. Tanks not quite sieged up just yet, and all of those tanks are going to get overwhelmed by unit count here. Marauders and medevacs not going to be enough to help aid in this marine battle, but some good blinding clouds do hold Clem to a little bit more reserved damage, but ultimately Serral not able to break here at this point. So a very, very good setup, game number 1 for Serral. He's going to utilize that burrowed Zergling. Clem's got to get units up to the top right-hand corner. There goes the scan. He'll be able to plop that down. But Serral's already in the bottom left-hand corner, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bases in total for the Finnish Zerg player. The Frenchman's going to have a little bit more difficult time trying to make the most of this game number 1. The Lurkers are now finally out here. Adaptive Talons able to start offering some additional support. I'm loving this exchange that's happening back and forth. Serral able to get a block on a base once again. Serral can't afford to really push off of creep just yet with these Lurkers. Needs to play a little bit more defensive until those adaptive talents finish up. And I believe he already has, does he have the range upgrade? He does. He does have not grooved spines. Shoot. Gonna have to sit and think about that. I can already read the YouTube comments. At 22:30, the caster didn't know the name of a late game Zerg thing. Isn't he a Zerg player? Ah! I downvoted just for that. That's what I say about your downvote. Picks up the planetary, well, the almost planetary fortress, rather. Gets 5 workers on top of it as well. And Serral's going to be able to connect on the base on the bottom side as well. So right now, Clem not able to expand, and this is what ends up being a potential downfall for a Terran player in the later stages of the game. We're at the 15-minute mark, and Clem is having a difficult time keeping that 5th and 6th base secured. I was going to say saturated. I mean, that's part of the problem too. But the overall sentiment is that this needs to be a secured location here. Gonna have to bring up the whole army here for the top right-hand corner of the map. There's plenty of ghosts. What's the ghost count at right now? Ghost count is at 11. That's gonna deal with those lurkers quite efficiently. Banelings are gonna have to try and find a better target. Zerglings are gonna be the better response for those ghosts, although they will try to capitalize here. They're not nearly as good at killing ghosts as they are at killing Marines. So Serral does need to capitalize on that. But look at this situation here, 192 to 155. Clem able to capitalize on some damage here, but right now the base in the top right is being dealt with. Once again, Serral able to clean out to the top right-hand corner, and he has a good read on the bottom side of the map as well. So ultimately, Serral doing a good job of trying to maintain control here. The creep spread's rather strong here, just pushed outside of the 4th and 5th base location, but even down here, I mean, creep spread's starting to make its way forward. Missile turrets are going to do a good job of helping reduce that further push, but I mean, it's still pretty hard to deal with right now. You're going to have to get a Raven, or you're going to have to use scans. More units coming on in here, pushing a little bit too far forward. Say it isn't so. The units are going to try and evacuate out here. Some good blinding clouds to try and keep those siege tanks at bay, and those will get picked off in their entirety. Wow, look at this unit's loss tab, 25K to 20K, definitely within the margin of error for Serral at this point, and the supply does not lie. 170 to 130. A lurker in the top right-hand corner is going to cause more chaos as well, and the bio is going to finally pick that off. I was like, it's running away too fast. It's just too quick. But Clem able to clean it up. So if you are Clem, I mean, an income advantage graph like this has got to be very, very concerning here. I love the lurker on the high ground. You just have to find a way for the Terran player to really wrestle back a bit of an economic position in this game number 1. But very, very good lurker control, very, very good run buys. This lurker still on the high ground causing a little bit of chaos. +3 missile is on the way. There's already +3 melee and +3 carapace set up. You're going to lose a planetary fortress again. Serral is all over Clem here in game number 1, and Clem forced to tap out into this best of 5 series. Serral goes up 1-0 in the series. Game number 2 brings us to one of our new maps in the pool alongside our initial Curious Minds. It's going to be Hardwire. Hardwire appears to be a slightly less big map. I mean, it's sizable. Don't get me wrong. But we're going to have to watch and see what Serral and Clem have in store here for game number 2. It was just very, very good aggression from Clem in game number 1 that just could never capitalize. Serral just able to swat. Kept Clem at bay, able to minimize his kills, and did his Zerg best to just expand and swarm. So as we go into game number 2, we're going to have to see if Clem tries to mix up the formula to get a advantage over his opponent. Right now, it does seem to be a Marine first opening, so quite interesting here. And we're going to have an additional barracks, huh? Are we getting a 2-1-1? Oh, Clem. Oh, Clem. You dog, you. So that explains the Marine first opener to try and deflect the incoming Overlord. And that Marine's job is still going to have to get some work done, but Serral already smelling something funky in the air. But it is going to be that illustrious 2-1-1. I don't know what that little robot did to deserve that type of fate, but okay. So Serral gonna try and do his best to really get in here, but should see what should be an alarming amount of Marines. I mean, at this point, you've already seen no Reaper. You've already seen Marines in sizable supply. We're not gonna say it's a large amount, but it's sizable. Sizable. Those response is gonna be a Roach Warren. I mean, that would sort of indicate that he wants to go for a bit of a timing here, but that would be just an incorrect read. He is only on 1 gas, so Serral's not going to have a huge bank to play off of, so we're not going to get anything crazy like a Roach Ravager push at the onset here. We do, I don't think that's going to go very far. I mean, a 2-1-1 would do a nice job of dealing with that. Serral continuing to get some really good scouting information, kind of darts back and forth with the Zergling. What did he get in and see? He really hasn't seen a whole lot other than the natural expand at this point. Okay, well, here comes an amount of roaches at this point. Serral's not going to be able to really focus on any Ravager production in high supply. He's got enough gas for 1 Ravager at this point. But trying to prevent any major guffaws here as an armory is going to go down. The armory really is kind of an interesting choice, though. That more than likely means we're going to see mines on the back side of this. And in that case, roaches really aren't a terrible choice. But roaches are going to be hard to utilize against a large amount of marine bio here. And they're going to have stim in just a moment. That's going to be finishing up. It's a fast timing. Clem going to come across the map. The creep spread, not in a terrible position, but is it going to be enough here? I think this right-hand side is a little bit vulnerable, but we're going to have to see what Clem comes up with. Lair already on the way. Bit of a scout here at the outer wall. Now, if you are Serral, do you just go and face check this? You absolutely do here. Clem's going to be forced to pick up and leave. That 2-1-1 is swatted away once again. Third base is in production, so Clem's not going to be in a really rough spot from all of this, but got a little bit more work to do here. Serral with some really, really decent scouting here. He doesn't have any read at the third base just yet. It looks like that is going to be incoming just at this point. So good scout here at the front. He's going to have a read that there is still no third base on site. That's going to be changing here ever so soon. I mean, this is quite the interesting choice here. Glio Reconstitution, additional roaches, 1-1 Missile Carapace coming up. Okay, we're going into an orbital command. Serral is acting as if he really wants to pounce as early as possible. These roaches are going to have diminishing returns over the course of the next few minutes, mostly because tanks are going to get to be really, really, really strong in the defense here. And this seems like a base that is rather easy to defend on at this point. Good tank siege positions. I know that was a talking point here of the new map pool, was that Terran seemed to have some really, really good positions to work with in some of the new maps. And I don't remember if Hardwire was specifically one of them, but definitely worth noting here as Ravagers are finally going to be able to come up here. This is just going to be a really strong max out timing. It's all going to come down to tank positioning and count. So right now it appears that there are 3 tanks. 3 tanks with superior high ground positioning? Could be okay. I mean, these 2 tanks right now, though, are not going to be able to capitalize. So Clem's going to get a good read on where this Roach Ravager army is coming from. So the positioning game is now on the way. There goes the tank up to the high ground. That tank could possibly be a clutch player. We're going to have to keep an eye on that here as Missile and Ground Carapace +1 is about to finish. The timing attack is now. And here come the tanks. Tank on the high ground here. The second tank all the way in the back as well. But yes, look at this. This is a really good choke. That tank on the high ground, we're going to keep an eye on it. How many kills is it going to get? It gets 6 before it goes down. But it's the tank on the ground. The low ground tank manages to hang on here. What a crazy exchange. I think this should have gone so much stronger for Serral, but instead Serral has to kind of back off. Clem doesn't get out of the engagement single-handed. But woo. I mean, if you're going to continue doubling down on your Roach Ravager production, you really need to be in a stronger position for Serral. But, you know, Clem, very, very good defense here, is going to be able to try and capitalize on the moment. This medevac should be able to see the army repositioning forward here. I think Clem thought about trying to take advantage of the aggression of Clem and catch him on the map, but Clem's going to be able to back off. Here comes a follow-up push. Where are the tanks here? 1 tank on the low ground. Still going to be able to capitalize on that. Bio will be able to keep that back and away. It's no tanks up on the high ground, though, so this becomes, again, an increasing problem for Clem as he's having to fight from so much down, and this Bio able to wrap around and cause more damage, and it's another push that has failed at the hands of Serral, at the hands of Clem, rather. Units lost tab is still pretty confidently towards the center. If we look at the income advantage, Clem able to capitalize a little bit on him, but like, it's not a whole lot happening here. So it feels as if all of the types of engagements we got in game number 1, where Clem sacrifices a big push to try and make some economic damage, and Serral just says, nope, I'm not going to deal with it. Nope, no thanks. Next, good try. Now the shoe's on the other foot, and Serral is the one being swatted away. His Roach Ravager push not quite enough to deal the economic damage that he's looking for here. So Serral is a little bit behind. He is going to get his 5th base down here at the 10-minute, 30-second mark. The 4th base already in position, so it's not a horrible life to live, but 71 to 66 workers is not necessarily the eco you'd like to play with. If we look at this income advantage graph, it feels like, you know, Serral's been able to capitalize on this, but look at that bottom number, 750. These are really, really close, despite the fact that the graph is made to look a little bit more dramatic for the viewers. Ooh, we're going to see infestors here by Serral. A little deviation to try and deal with the large amount of bio. And infestors are going to force out additional ghost production at this point, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a Ghost Academy start dropping down very, very soon. But look at the tanks on the low ground. A really good positioning here, not allowing Serral to engage forward to try and harass those tanks. So good bio presence on the high ground. Going to be able to clear off a little bit of creep. These Roaches and Ravagers are just going to have to rotate around, and right now it's just very, very difficult processing here for Serral. Serral's going to lose his 4th base. These tanks are going to continue pushing on forward. What does Serral have going for him right now? Oh, good fungal. Okay, he's got that going for him. That's going to allow him a little bit better positioning here, but he's got to have those fungals ready to rock and roll because there's more bio where that came from. And those Ravager biles need to be in position here. Tanks are going to get way too much damage done if he's not able to push on top of it. And there needs to be an answer to those medevacs. There's 11 at this point, and they're getting so much work done. The tanks are able to secure the win here, and all tied up are Clem and Serral, 1 apiece as we go into game number 3. Game number 3 brings us to one of our older maps in the pool, Blackburn, as Clem able to even up the series 1-1 here. So now effectively a best of 3 as we continue to navigate the upper bracket finals. Again, the winner of this series is going to move on to the Stay at Home Story Cup number 4 grand finals. Don't know who that is just yet. Spoiler-free cast as Serral looking to spice up life here a little bit here. A pool first opening. Now, this isn't the earliest pool that he can get into, but it is going to provide him with a significant amount of aggression here at the early onsets. I mean, this is going to be lings that arrive early enough to pressure out a quick expansion here. I mean, it would really punish a Marine first opener, but instead it is going to be a Reaper. So, Clem not going to fall victim to that ploy, at least not at this point. But what ends up being the case here, it is just going to be a gasless opening. So instead of major aggression, I mean, we are going to get those lings out right away. So some harassment can happen. It's just going to opt for quicker queens and quicker drones on the early onset. Serral, you sneaky dog. Getting that third base out very quick like. So the benefits of the gasless opening, for sure, definitely on display. Now, Serral, I feel like you've missed an opportunity here. You run links to the top right-hand corner, and you miss an opportunity to really pull the Reaper back home. But, not a major concern at this point. Okay, he is going to try and wiggle his way in. SCV going to come back and intercept that just a little bit. But right now, Clem having to play a little bit on the back foot. Seeing that third base should give him a little bit of calm. That might be, I was going to say, that might be a bunker that gets canceled. Because now Clem knows he's not going to deal with any hyper aggression at this point. I think the lings that are coming in here, he can feel pretty confident are going to be the extent of the harassment here. But now, additional barracks going down alongside the factory. So do we have a starport at this point? No, we don't. So Serral is going to see the 2 barracks and 2 factories. Should have some good recognition. There's the word. That it's not a 2-1-1. If it were a 2-1-1, this barracks usually would be hidden, but also that would already be done. So now off the heels of his gasless opener, now he's going to throw it down double gas and start mining that up. That's going to be able to give him his roach production. If he wants to pick up ling speed, that's going to be an option as well. I'd be surprised if he doesn't pick up ling speed, but he also might be banking some gas here to get those early roaches out of that roach warren. Is going to be finishing up here in just a short amount of time. Starport's going to finally come down. We do finally get a tech lab rocking and rolling. Yeah, there go the roaches in the production tab. So no ling speed, at least at this point. One has to think that's going to get picked up eventually, but we have to keep a close eye on that. Having slow zerglings, especially later game when you want to start flooding mineral lines with like 20-30 zerglings, it does take a toll. It does have an impact. All right, so third base is already completed and ready to float out onto site, but it's a little bit more production before that ends up coming to fruition. Lair on the way is going to also provide that transition power here for Serral, who is opting out of any major upgrades at this point. We now finally see the double evolution chamber coming down, so that roach production is so strong. I wouldn't be surprised to see 1-1 missile carapace go up again, but it feels like a missed lesson for sure. I mean, Clem was able to quickly deal with the roach ravager aggression in game number 2, and I'm not sure if Serral's going to be able to find the same kind of success in game number 3 or find any success for that matter. All right, so Clem going to now put on a little bit of harassment here. Serral's creep spread not quite as strong here in game number 3. Mostly focusing on trying to get this roach force up and running, but no hatchery there just yet. Clem is going to bump up into the main base, but not stay there very long. It is an infestation pit, so no hydras this time around to complement the roaches. Should be able to get into his infestor play pretty fast, saving up the gas that he would otherwise dump into hydralisks. Okay, working down the supply just ever so slightly. Clem making the most out of a few amount of units, really channeling his inner Bjorn, trying to maximize by minimizing. Make the most damage output with the smallest amount of units, something that Bjorn is so very famous for. And Clem is trying to channel that same energy here in game number 3. Lots of quick drops and lots of pickups. Here comes that infestor. Count 2 on the way. Again, we still don't have any major upgrades. Gliover Constitution is the only major upgrade we have on the side of Serral. He's going to have +1 missile, +1 carapace in just a moment, but at the 7-minute and 20-second mark, I mean, that's a big notice. 1-1. It's about 2/3 of the way done here for Clem. So Clem not able to capitalize on his own upgrade advantage at this point. Ooh, but now we have a Spire. That's where our gas was going to. But this seems to be a bit more interesting as well. The Mutiling Bane could be a talking point in this matchup should Clem decide to continue into the bio path, but you don't have Ling Speed yet. Okay, Ling Speed's actually just finishing up. All right. Well, it blended in with my other purple upgrades. It was all purple. It was all purple, chat. It was all purple. All right, so now Serral's finally starting to get pushed out here with this creep to the mid portion of the map. It's going to require Clem to navigate here. There's lots of ups and downs on this center area. Serral having a difficult time trying to engage. Clem actually utilizing the various ups and downs to keep these tanks protected and to keep this Bioforce from clumping up against the Roach Ravager Ling of Serral. So now Serral has to try and run around this army. This army is going to engage on top of the 4th base at the gold. Oh, I mean, this is creating quite a conundrum for the Finnish Zerg player in red. Serral really needs to capitalize on that base going down. Oh, he actually walked away from the building base, and Clem is like, I've lost it. You win this round, Zerg player. Serral can't really afford to lose this this mining facility for too much longer. I mean, look at that. Look at that income graph. It's just wildly back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Corruptors are going to be a really nice way to deal some extra damage to these medevacs. Can't have too many of them, though. Too many Corruptors, and suddenly the ground army is not going to be able to take advantage. I love the setup here that Serral's trying to go for, but there's just so many different nooks and crannies to try and wiggle into. And right now, Clem has done a fantastic job of being able to protect himself on multiple different fronts. That 4th base is going to actually go down. So now the 4th base on the southern side still available, but it's definitely not going to have the same type of return that Serral is looking for. So he's going to balance out. Looks like Clem able to rescue a little bit of that advantage, but here comes a really powerful moment. Too much bio here to really push forward if you're Serral. So the tanks are going to be able to get situated. Those will have to be pulled back from. And now it's Clem on the attack here. He's got the high ground, clearing out the creep. That means that Serral needs something from the sky. Broodlords are going to be the choice of the Zerg player here. Can the GG Lords be enough? There's a lot happening here. There's that one lonely infester trying to work away on the tanks. The tanks do get cleaned up. This is actually a very sturdy army. The Roach Ravager trying to hold everything back, really body block for the Broodlords. They can still get a lot of attacking done as well, but the bio's not going to be able to hang, especially as those Broodlords are allowed to continue producing units to add to the damage output that's happening here. Now, Vikings don't have a real answer right now, so that is going to be an issue that Serral has to try and find a solution for, but Queens are not going to be able to be the answer to that. Oh, giant fungal here on the majority of that army as Serral trying his best to push this forward. He really wants to knock down this planetary fortress, and given enough time, he could possibly do it with these 6 Broodlords. A few more corrosive biles able to connect, but not able to get any lethal damage just yet. Thor has been brought into the fight as well. The Queens are able to help with their transfusions as well. They're keeping themselves alive, but more importantly, they are trying to keep this push alive as reinforcements are coming in from the left-hand side. 198 to 154. Has Serral broken this position? I believe he finally has. This Thor is not going to be enough despite the fact that he has 6 kills. He's finally going to go down, and that's just too much Roach Ravager. And these Broodlords of Serral will finally be able to work away this planetary fortress. It will end up falling. And with that, I think Clem is going to topple over as well. Is the red Zerg player on his way to a match point scenario in this best of 5? It's starting to look that way as well. An additional Thor having to be ferried from the front to the rear. Broodlords were the heroes in this push, and Serral able to claim a 2-1 lead in this best of 5, puts himself on match point here in the upper bracket final of the Stay at Home Story Cup number 4. It's a match point scenario for our red Zerg player Serral, who is looking to secure his passage to the grand finals of the Stay at Home Story Cup number 4. He's got to win one more game over the blue Terran player Clem, who is doing his best to not only represent France, but also to represent the entirety of the Terran faction here. Now we're on one of our newer maps, Glittering Ashes, or as some of the players affectionately referred to, Glittering Unit. This one's got a whole lot of additional UI elements going on inside of it, so kind of interesting to see that. It's definitely at least fascinating enough, to say the least, that the new maps are a part of the pool, making things more exciting and interesting. So we're going to be able to get out to his third base location here in this game. He does have a reduced gas count to help work on his drones in the early onsets of this game. But a 1-1-1 underway for Clem. So Clem is going to be the one that moves back to the standard side of the build order trees. Now, Serral was able to finally make his Roach Ravager composition pay off in game number 3. He struggled a bit in game number 2, but wasn't ever able to get to the late game tech that he was looking for. So it's a matter of whether or not Serral will try and capitalize on that setup or not. The possibilities do seem to be endless, though, for our blue Terran player. It's going to be Cloak Banshee from Clem. Running back, an old classic, and it is going to be pretty well scouted here by Serral. Sometimes the classics are good for a reason, right? There's a reason they are constantly sought after. I'm working very, very diligently to find his classic multi-pronged aggression, but the Zerglings are also working very hard to find some decent surrounds. I think Serral is in a position where he's not going to let something as simple as a Hellion harassment get the best of him. Now, this Banshee, however, could possibly have something to say about that, as the Banshees will continue to multiply in number. Not quite prepared with the Spore Crawler just yet. It is almost done, but a couple of those kills are going to be paramount as well. Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot of Hellions here. They're going to try and wrap around before they do end up taking out Queens, and you'd much rather lose the Zerglings at this point compared to the Queen count. The Queens do stay alive. So it ends up being an okay position here for Serral. What does Serral actually end up losing? He really doesn't lose a whole lot. He loses Zerglings for the cause. That's not a major issue. Not a major issue for sure. Fourth base already on the way, and it is going to be a Spire at the third base location. That's going to get scouted here. The scan goes down, and this now becomes a very concerning situation here. It's Hellbats. The armory on the opposite side of the map makes this a very, very difficult engagement to try and fight into, but look at Serral with the careful micro back and forth. Baneling's going to be able to capitalize on the Hellbat groupings, and now suddenly Clem needs to find a way to get additional kills here. He is up to 7, but what's the drone kill count? It's only 5, so it's not a major amount, and it's mostly all in the last 30 seconds as well. So the 5 drones do end up falling, but that could have gone much, much worse here. Serral's got to be feeling really confident off of that defense, managing to pick off all of those Hellbats for the cost of a few Banelings. And the Spire's going to be allowed to finish up. His Baneling speed gets completed as well. Must be feeling really, really good here for the red to finish a Zerg player. Clem, he's not done. Not done here. He is going to have some medevacs. Medevacs are going to be very effective with those Hellbats to provide a little bit of support. But where is Clem off to at this point? He's got +1/+1 infantry weapons and armor. He is getting that combat shield rounded out, so it will end up being more bio play. But we haven't seen any Muta production hit the table outside of the initial 10. So it's very, very possible that Serral is going to just keep a reserved number of his Mutas, and he's going to focus on his Ling and his Bane count. This is where things are going to start to get spicy. Very, very good SimCity is going to be able to protect that, at least for right now. Oh, Widow Mines. Widow Mines are the creme de la creme. Or should I say, the creme de la Clem. We've seen far too many games here where Clem has been able to make magic happen with those Widow Mines. It is going to be a bit of a bounce back and forth here between these Mutas and this army attack on the left-hand side of the map. Both players trying to find a bit of initiative going forward. Serral needs to protect his base here if he wants to keep his expansion on the rise, and having a difficult time really holding this down here. The Banelings are not able to connect in an efficient manner just yet. Widow Mines continue to perch themselves as well, so trying to find a way to capitalize. There goes another mine to provide additional damage. Ooh, the mines actually soften the Queens up, but possibly a better scenario compared to the Mutas. It's going to be a nice little surround. Mutas will find some additional damage Gosh, these mines are just everywhere at this point. There's no place for Clem to get away with any of his units here. Serral is constantly having to pay for these connections here. Let's continue pushing on that left-hand side. Thor production is on the way, which is good because the muta count continues to climb here. 3 additional on the way to match the 17 that are already on the map. I suppose at this point now it is the 17 total. Those mutas are going to go try and find additional damage out on the other side. What do we have here at the planetary? Planetary's only got 1 missile turret. That's not going to be enough to deal with that. So Serral will find some additional damage here. He's going to work at getting this entire mineral line, and I think he will find a decent amount of it, but some Marines did get pulled back home to try and defend. Those mutas will continue to find some pretty wicked damage as the Thor's going to get to work as well. No. Are we able to hold on to it? No, not quite. Oh, those things are gonna get so much damage here. 15. There's just no rescue at this point. Missile turret has to go back into place. The worker counts are now equalized, 68 to 66. If we look at that income advantage, once again, it's just rapid back and forth. Very, very quickly bouncing back and forth between the 2 players. The positioning of Clem, though. Gonna try and find a way to wiggle in. Oh. Mine's gonna get some additional damage. Very good overseer here. That's gonna be rather useful to try and keep the pressure on dealing with all of these mines. So now we find ourselves in a couple of different locations here. Once again, the mutas working their way out. One mine just lingering. It's just there. The mutas are going to get on top of this once again. Are they able to clean that off? Yeah. No, the missile turret stands. That means that's mutas that are going to fall here. This army's now able to engage on the opposite side. What have we lost for the muta count so far? 12 in total. It's not a crazy amount, but it's a sizable amount. I mean, it's 1,200 minerals, 1,200 gas. Worker count is finally coming to a head here. 11 in total. This hatchery still standing, albeit very, very low, still alive. That's going to be a much better position to try and play from. And picking off the missile turret here. This run by just has not been dealt with as of yet. 20 workers in total, and the number keeps climbing. This is a really, really good exchange here. Serral doing his best to keep things fresh. And he wants to secure that grand final trip. Right now, he's on path to get it done. Now, something worth noting is the fact that this early game tech, or mid game tech rather, is still the point of contention. So we don't have a infestation pit as of this moment. So if for some reason Serral is not able to continue capitalizing on this damage, it's going to put him in a really awkward position as he works to get an advantage here. And now we do finally see that infestation pit coming down. Two just about to finish up. It's going to make those banelings incredibly strong. Clem just a little bit too quick with those workers, but can Serral make something happen on the high side here? It is a planetary fortress, so that's going to hit us all time, finding additional damage. But Clem is now able to capitalize. It's just constant trades back and forth. Yeah, you almost would hate to see the planetary fortress not go down to banelings. So base trade underway here. Clem takes out the 5th base location. Now is working on figuring out the 6th base. I guess it's technically the 4th base. 6th base would be down here. Mutas are going to be able to clean up 1 base. The 2nd base, though, not quite going to go down. That's come at the cost of 28 workers. Look at Clem! 34 to 73. Has Serral done it? Has he capitalized on the game here? I mean, that army count is just mighty spooky. 149 to 105. It's a matter of whether or not this army is stoppable, and I think it is, given the army composition at this particular point. Serral's got to be careful here. 73 to 29. He needs to respond to this army. He cannot afford to toss away too many units to this, and that's a lot of banelings that ended up going down for not a whole lot of exchange. These mutas are still getting good damage, though, so it's not a bad situation. 69 workers to 15. It's a nice spot for Serral to live in, but can he capitalize on it? And can he find an answer to this army on the opposite side of the map in his natural right now? I mean, he is just pushing on forward. There's additional Marines. These mutas are going to find an orbital command to pick off. So that's yet another base. I mean, the 3rd base is gone. The 4th base is gone. But this is a lot of bio. That's going to be a dead layer. Good scout on the base there in the top left. 19 drones do end up going down. 50 and dropping rapidly at this point. 46 to 15. What response is here? That's the real question. So now all of a sudden our supplies actually look a little bit more even. 140 to 129. Having to rebuild the spawning pool is a bit crushing, but both players in a really rough spot. The income advantage squarely in the Zerg player's favor. Think about the biggest amount of a position right now for Serral is he just can't afford to lose his muta flock. His murder of mutas. There are 2 spawning pools on the way. I mean, it's probably smart. That spawning pool is never going to be allowed to finish. But I'm worried that one's not going to be either. Oh no, Serral's got money, but he's got no way to spend it. It's another base. This is the last orbital command here for Clem. Clem doesn't have enough money to build one as well, so that might be important to note. And Clem is severely supply blocked. Oh, all of these workers are just going to run to their death. I think there will be enough to try and hold on to this, but all of the drones of Serral caught there into the top left. Okay, draws a little bit of the friendly fire here, trying to get as many of those expensive gas units as he possibly can, but that is a very, very scary army. And as more and more of these units do end up falling, and the mutas are never going to be able to engage this ground army the way that it needs to. Oh, Serral. Serral very, very invested here on the high side. Needs to find a way to get these drones to the bottom right-hand corner, but I just don't know. I just don't know. A very, very rough scenario that we're looking at here. This base in the lower right-hand corner has been disposed of. That's going to be another dead spawning pool. Base goes up here. A baneling nest did end up going down, so that is a bit better. Clem supply blocks once again. Serral, you cannot afford to lose those mutas. These are your saving grace here. These 18 mutas that you have in your muta flock. Still a very scary army. And it comes off of the heels of so many medevacs. Those medevacs are going to be so useful for so much time. 2 bases is all that it's down to. So Serral trying to win the base race at this point. Oh, drones, why are you not droning? Oh, no. That only got 8 kills. It doesn't feel right. 21 in total. Clem, you've almost evened it out, my guy. What a game here. Oh, every mine that gets picked off, every bio force that gets fleshed out and picked off. That's huge. Those are units that cannot be replaced on both sides. But Clem has 99 on this squad. 99. I'm not thinking that this is going to be enough. You basically have to land the Baneling connections of the millennium. Not even the century. The millennium. Oh, Baneling's going to be able to come on in. But it's not enough. GG is called. Clem rescues back game number 2. It's all tied up. Game number 5. Our rubber match is on the way to determine who's going to move on to the Stay at Home Story Cup number 4 Grand Finals. It all comes down to 2,000 atmospheres for game number 5. As our 2 players are fighting for a trip to the Grand Finals of the Stay at Home Story Cup number 4. Both of them, I imagine, are going to be contenders in the next Home Story Cup, which again has been announced as taking place in late January. It's going to be live and in person, so hopefully things continue to improve on the worldwide stage so that we can start to have offline events again. Oh, so excited, so hyped to see our players back in action on the big stage. And of course, we all feel as if a matchup like Serral v Clem would be wonderful. And the big lights and the big stage. The Finnish Phenom versus the French, you lost your Reaper? Oh, just GG out at this point. The French finisher. I was like, wait a minute. The Finnish Phenom versus the French finisher just seems, I don't know, seems a bit strange. So constant harassment has worked out for Clem here, games 2 and 4. And really good positioning at the end game scenario for game number 4. Clem making the most of his bioforce. And that's where Serral's army can be very, very vulnerable. If he gets into that late game trade scenario, that's the old saying, right? You never base race a Terran. Because the Terrans just got so many good assets at their disposal to try and keep things alive. So Serral going to try and sneak on in. Doesn't get exactly what he's looking for. He's going to be able to pick up metabolic boost here. So not going for a gasless opener once again here in game number 5. No holds barred as these 2 players are going to duke it out. It will be Banshee Cloak for game number 5 once again. Now, 2,000 atmospheres, again, one of the older maps in our pool, so both players have had extensive amounts of time to play on this map, and Serral already working away at the rocks here to open up some more paths for his units to navigate and run around and create holds and counters and all sorts of fancy footwork here. But bio, once more, going to be the composition of Clem. Serral getting out to his evolution chambers as well. Feels like a little bit earlier than in previous games. Might be trying to favor that a bit sooner before his transition into lair. We're gonna have to see where that gas ends up going. It does look like it's gonna be a 1-1 drop given his gas count. 1-1 into lair. And there goes the +1 melee, +1 carapace. Imagine that lair will be shortly following. The third base already out and on site. All right. Cloak Banshee providing a bit of help as well. Oh, he did have a drone that was starting to build a spore crawler and out in the middle of nowhere to protect against the incoming alien swarm. But actually could have been useful here to try and deflect the double Banshee harass. 4 workers have already gone down. Again, Clem is looking for so much more. Does not want to try and settle for just that amount of worker harassment. Hellions are next on the table. It's just back and forth, and constant pressure, constant harassment here by Clem. Clem going to be able to finish up the stim pack upgrade. His 1-1 is about a third of the way completed here. 4th base also on the way. These Banshees are not getting a crazy amount of kills. 3 apiece. We do see a... Okay, now that's a little bit better here. Oh, very, very low. 5 and 4. Still not outrageous. But we do have a Baneling nest now. So, Lingbane Queen as it sits right now. No Spire on the way. Not believing in the Spire tech, at least at this point. 1-1 is going to finish up here in just a moment. Serral needs to find a transition into the late game. He is only rocking 4 bases. Doesn't have the macro hatch to be super effective on just Lingbane Queen production, especially since Clem is just so stinking good with his bio. I think he's going to be able to overwhelm this. Oh, it's going to be tight. Not quite. Not quite, but he does push everything off. All right, so Serral gonna be able to grab his 5th base. Ooh. It's gonna be a tricky defense here. Siege tank goes on the left-hand side. The rock's not quite knocked down. Serral's going to have to contend with that. That means he's gonna have Lings wrapping around on the high side. Clem's going to see that with his setup of reinforcements. So now how does he try and engage this here? Queens are going to be drawn in to get most of the fire up and running, but that means Lings will be able to swarm on forward. Banelings do actually end up connecting onto tanks, which isn't ideal. But overall, the connection does manage to take place. So a good setup so far, but 2000 Atmosphere is a very, very good map for multi-pronged harass. Once again, Serral taking advantage of his creep spread at this point. He's going to go back into Hydras. So Lurkers are going to be the end goal for our Finish Zerg player. And if I remember correctly, team number 1, Serral ends up cleaning that off. Queen's going to be able to pick off one of the medevacs full of units, but this 5th base did end up getting a cancel on top of it. 5th base going to rotate up to the high side of the map to continue Serral's economic push here. And he is wanting to try and capitalize on that. Some good Baneling connections here. Doesn't want to over push it though. Those mines have gotten a lot of damage done for Clem in the past, and Serral knows that. Good SimCity down here at the 3rd base location. No Baneling run-bys without some clever navigating at this point. But I think Serral is just going to be all in on the defense right now, working himself up into his Hydra production, ultimately Lurker production as well. Do we have a Lurker den as of yet? No, not quite. But Serral on the defense, is that a good strategy at this point? Is that the right choice per se? I think it's possible. Ooh, Clem's got to be careful here. Ling's going to be coming in from every single angle. Serral's so good at these full surround bushes here, but good stims back and forth. Where were the banelings? Not quite close enough. Clem able to pick up and run away. And he's not going to run too far. He's going to stay really close to home. Those mines do end up going in a lot of different directions. One big connection here on the center of the Zergling baneling army. And whew, this is just, it's just so saucy. It's just so busy. Every single angle gets attacked here. Every single angle coming into play. A great grab on those mines will prevent some additional damage. But this might be a good push timing for Serral here, as he is going to work his way in. Not quite enough banelings towards the front here, so he's going to have to back off, at least for the time being, as Serral finds his way around the map, is trying to rotate as best as he possibly can. But here comes the +1 missile attack. There goes the hive at this point. 2-2 already finished up. Still no lurker gen. There goes the lurker gen. Lurker gen on the way. But where are the banelings? Banelings. There are only 7 in production right now. 12 now follow up. Okay, that's a much better situation. Gotta have that baneling counted. Still a decent amount. Oh, the baneling bomb! Yes! Yes, a baneling bomb does end up popping. Very, very good position in here. And this is what Serral's going to have to do against somebody like Clem. He's going to have to get creative. He's going to have to set up and really punish the bio of Clem all the way around. Okay, now Zergling going to be dropped into spot. 4th base, actually 5th base, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5th base is on the ground and secure. I just love how effortlessly he grabs these banelings and drops them into mine positions. Love to see more of these mines drop into place. And we're not talking Clem's mines. We're talking Serral's mines. Okay, oh, a lot of movement back and forth. Oh, Widow Mine's actually doing a decent amount of damage here. Clem's going to be able to turn around and fight here in just a moment. Not enough to really push on forward. Lurkers going to get their upgrades rocking and rolling here, so Serral just needs to continue playing on the defense and deny as much damage as humanly possible here. This bio will get surrounded and picked off. Seismic spines. There we go. That one person who is waiting. Rushi didn't know what that upgrade was before. I'm going to give him a second chance. I read the screen this time. Oh, I love it. Here we go. Nidus Network. Nidus Network going to give a lot more mobility to these lurkers. Lurkers do need to defend this base right now, and they do have to get plopped down. These mines have just been so brutal. Where are the detectors? There we go. Finally able to clean these up, but does not see the mines up on the high side as well. So much happening here for both of our players, but the first Nidus Worm is going to go down. It's going to get dropped into place. I don't think that there's any major reaction to this right now, but the army is mostly caught out. That's going to have to get lifted up. There it finally goes. A good response comes in, but not before the lurkers are going to be able to get on site. So now how does Serral respond to this? Clem's going to have to work his way up here and find a way to deal with these lurkers. That's going to be a difficult thing to try and accomplish. He makes it look incredibly easy, though. Nidus Worm going to be on the high side of the map. The main army going to drop it down to the low side as well. Is there enough here? I think there will be. All the workers do get a chance to evacuate. Lurkers in the main base do get picked off. Base is going to go down here. Great Zergling burrow. It's just so quick. All of the burrowing, all of the additional setup here. Just so very, very good. Serral in a really good spot here. Picking off the base at the 5th base location. The 6th base has been taken care of. Are these Hydras going to be able to pick off that base? Yes, they finally do. This orbital command is also floating for its life as well. 26 workers do end up falling as a result of all of this business. But the Lings and Banelings are not going to be quite enough just yet. Serral does a nice job of burrowing once again. Additional Nidus worms are going to come into play here. It's just constant rotation, constant harassment, constant damage. Oh, the Baneling bombs. The Baneling bombs are coming. Oh, I desperately want. Give me more. Oh, that's going to be... Oh, that was actually a really good pull. Good ghost connections here. Banelings are going to try. Oh, not enough. That planetary fortress is going to stand strong for now. +3 missile, +3 melee on the way. This base, this is a bold play here by Clem, trying to snag this base, despite the fact that Serral manages to grab the bottom right-hand corner. So I suppose bold is the right term, but it is retribution at best. 86 to 56. Serral much stronger on the economic front, but that means that Clem has a much more sizable army. So Serral's going to have to find a way to deal with that, and he's not really responding very well. Those bio forces are just kind of eating away. It's the ghost count for me, though. The ghost count is just a little bit too big at this point. That is going to be a base that ends up falling. But once again, bottom right-hand corner in a pretty decent spot for units to start capitalizing on the economic advantages. And Serral is in a much better place economically, for sure. If we take a look at the economic graph, you can see that Serral's been able to hold on to it, at least for the last 5 minutes. But Serral can't afford to keep bleeding off units without getting some better trades going forwards. Bioforces are going to come on in here. Oh, that could have been a very interesting positioning here for these ghosts to get wedged in. But instead, the lurkers are going to back off. Oh, I don't know. That's going to be a very exposed planetary fortress unless Serral pulls down here, and he does. He does want to try and protect these bases, or at bare minimum, he wants to punish his opponent for trying to jump in on these bases. There are a decent amount of Banelings, but right now Clem is going to be able to force forward with this bio. A lot of those Banelings do get picked off in their cocoons. The Widow Mines are on their way. Giant hits onto the Zerglings. If the Zerglings are not a part of the force, these ghosts are just going to be able to get so much work done. They're going to absorb so many of the Baneling shots and not actually be able to allow Serral to capitalize, and suddenly Serral's in a really rough position here. 144 to 168. He's got some lurker harassment going on, but this Bioforce is nothing to sneeze at. Look at this ghost count. This ghost count is insanely high right now. They're going to get picked up, though, and evacuated before any major damage is done. Right now, Serral is in a bit of a rough situation here. This income advantage has been wrestled back in his favor. Oh, I mean, this is just incredibly close to damage here right now. Serral going to try and take advantage of the bottom right-hand corner once again. I know Clem has seen it. Yeah, I was going to say, I know Clem knows it's there. That's the reality of the situation. It's just constant harassment, and now he's going to be able to finally work down to the right-hand side here. What's down here to defend this? Absolutely nothing. Not a thing. Not a darn thing is there to defend. So in an ultimate situation here, these units just get pulled away. This base is going to be destroyed, and Serral is constantly left wanting more, and we start seeing the blue line on the income advantage graph. That is not going to be good for our red Zerg player, despite the fact that if you look at the supply, 196 to 147. It's just a rough situation here for the red Zerg player. Serral trying so hard to hang on. He had a 2-1 lead in the series. He doesn't want to let it slip. He wants to get himself on the high side of the winner's grand final. The Stay-at-Home Story Cup number 4. He just desperately does. But he's starting to run out of options here. These Zerglings are not finding all of the connections that they need, and every single time a mine connects, that just gets stronger and stronger for Clem, who's going to be able to pressure this base. This gets canceled down. These drones are going to be allowed to protect themselves, but only for a brief amount of time. Okay, a little bit better situation here, but again, it's a big sacrifice for just a little return. Serral's just begging for life here, and he's only getting little sips of air. Oh, a much better situation here as these lurkers are going to be able to get on top of a decent amount of ghosts. That ends up being a really decent exchange. But once again, how can Serral capitalize here on the lower right-hand side? It's good scans, it's good scouting, it's good positioning for the French Terran player with the 21-minute mark, and Clem is trying his hardest to try and close this out. 111 to 170. He's able to hang on to the income advantage grab at this point. This base in the top left is still having a difficult time getting situated once again, and these lurkers are able to provide some coverage, but not nearly the coverage that they need. Oh, I do like this lurker, though. This lurker is able to provide at least a little bit of coverage. Oh, Serral's just hanging on by fingertips here at this point. 189 to 127. Clem has all but squelched the Finnish Phenom here in game number 5. I mean, the base count is incredibly high here. Clem should be able to rescue more of an economic advantage, and he's going to be able to take the bottom right-hand corner as well. Being able to secure this many bases all at once should be enough to knock this down. Oh, good Baneling coverage here, but only 4 workers end up going down, so it's a lot of Banelings for not so many workers. The unit's loss tab is brutal! It does not matter. Clem with the 3-2 victory, and he advances on to the winner's grand final of the Stay-at-Home Story Cup number 4. Well played by the French Terran player.